Oh, we're back once again and welcome. And last time, what did we do? We made a scene manager, a manager of scenes. Someone to say, play this scene, play that scene. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. I'm telling you right now. But we're not finished. We're not completely finished. When we left off, we had our little guy and we could switch between scenes with these two keys that we set up. One of the things that we hadn't fixed was the keyboard. Everything's good, no errors, but we had sort of an issue with our test scene, and we essentially commented that out because we ran out of time. So let's pull that back out again, and I'll show you what it ends up doing. And as you can see, he just sits there and punches the whole time. No, I mean, I can make him punch more when I press the space key. I don't know if you figured that, if you heard that, but can't really tell. Here's the problem. I had an additional and right here with another condition. I was using the gamepad manager and making all that stuff work. Well, I took that out, and I didn't correctly change this from an or to an and. So now if I change that correctly, now you'll see he swims, presses spacebar, and he punches, and he goes back to the idle state. So that's exactly what we want there. There's a couple of other things that I want to clean up. When I went and did this movement of things to the lib folder, I did some I got on this tear of changing these like they're supposed to be. Well, this is not correct. Class derive. We want this to be called vector2, not lib.vector2. And there are a few more of these. Lib sprite. And really, I want that to be down here and probably below this stuff. Scene manager, I'm not sure. Yeah, see, scene manager's okay. We'll check the scene. He looks good. Keyboard, of course, doesn't use the class. That looks fine. And of course, class is fine. And animation needs to be changed. So now something else I want to do is we want to get rid of a few things here we're not using anymore. This was being used for some of the event stuff that we were testing, and that is no longer the case. So we're going to get rid of that. And for what we're going to do today, I'm going to switch to the main menu. Go ahead by default and start with the main menu. We also don't need the sound. We do need the SM, which is our scene manager. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay. So let's run her, and I'll show you what we got. Hello there from main menu. As you know, that's our main menu scene, and we just simply print this. Well, that's nice and everything, but it doesn't quite go with our pixely guy kind of theme. So let's look at putting a different font, using a different font instead of the default one. Love comes with its own, just a default font, and there she be, ladies and gentlemen. So let's find another one. There's a great website called defont.com, and I just typed in, I searched for pixel because I want a pixelated font. Several choices here. I went ahead and downloaded this one, and what I'll do is I'll unzip him real quick while I'm talking to you. I will drag him in, as you can see here. I'm going to drag him into the assets folder. So now he's in our assets folder. And so now what we want to do is load him up. So let's have a little setting or area up here where it'll say Love2D settings. I don't know, game settings. I call it something like that. So in order to load a font, we'll just say we need to grab it real quick because we want to do something with it here in a minute. We'll say love.graphics. Oops. Love.graphics. If I can type correctly. Dot new font. I believe I typed that correct. And we want to go into assets / and it's called pixeled.truetype. It's a TrueType font. Love2D supports TrueType fonts. and that's what we're going to use. So that's great. So now we want to set the font to the one above. So we're going to tell Love we want to use this font. And of course, as you're doing your stuff, you can load a bunch of different fonts, and then before you draw text, you can tell it with this command, love.graphics.setFont. You can tell it what font you want to use to draw the very next thing. But we're just going to say, look, draw it with this font. We're just going to draw everything with this font for now. We'll keep it simple. And we'll start out with a font size of 16. See what that looks like. Yeah, that'll work. That's not too bad, right? I can deal with that. Okay. Well, since we're in the main menu, let's think about what we might want to do here. Let's look at beginning an implementation of a button. So I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call it UI. And in there, I'm going to be a new file. Let's call it button.lua. So we'll open that up. And we're going to need the class, and we'll need the vector too. So I'm going to grab this. And then we'll say local. We're going to make us a button class equals class derive, and we'll call it button. And we're going to return the button, and then we're going to say function button new, and we'll say x, y, width, and height. So we will cheat a little bit because Sprite has these also. Where's that position? I'm going to put it up here. And really, not sure why I've set up the new Sprite to have Atlas width, height, x, y. Really, it should be, I guess Atlas is okay, but I think I'd rather put x and y first, which means that our test scene, which creates a new sprite right here, needs to do x, y. We'll test this real quick. I like to be more consistent, and I think this makes more sense. Yeah, I think he still looks okay. So I want to, it makes more sense to specify the position first and then the width and height second, in which case we should do that. And that way we can just take these and grab them and put them under button. Just like that. Now we have a width and a height, and we'll just width and height, WH. I think I'm going to leave W and H. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I could type out width and height, but for now, we're just going to leave it like that. So let's do function, button, draw, end, and let's do love graphics. There will be other ways to do what we're going to do, but we're gonna do it like this for now, just to illustrate. We'll come back and change things probably. And what we want is and I'll show you. Let me show you how. If you will just remind ourselves how these graphics are drawn. The graphics are, when you draw something, the XY coordinate is actually the upper left-hand corner of the image. So that also is the case with a rectangle as well as the sprites. So what we want to do is we want that X and the Y really, especially for these buttons, I think, to be in the middle of the button instead of at the edge. That means that instead of X, what we want is we want this to slide over this way. So really we want the X to be over here. And that'll simply be X minus the width divided by 2. And then the Y will be simply y minus the height divided by 2. So that's what we'll do here. We'll say self.position.x minus self.width divided by 2. And then the same thing for y, self.position.y minus self.h divided by 2. And then we need self.width and self.height, self.width, self.height. And then there's a nice little additional piece here that we can use and utilize for the rectangle, and that is this radius x and y. The x and y axis of each rounded corner cannot be greater than half the rectangle's width. Well, we'll make sure that it's not. We're just going to do a little bit of a radius. We'll do 4. We're just going to set it that way. So that should draw us a rectangle, a nice rectangle with the center coordinates at x and at y. So let's come over to main menu. Let's get rid of test and sprite. So now let's additionally come up here and say function, main menu, new. And of course that's going to be the scene manager. And we need to do that self so that we can self.super scene manager, so we can give it the scene manager. Self.button. Oh yes, and we need to say local button equals require, and we put it in lib.ui.button. Oops. That should be a dot, ladies and gentlemen. Now it is. Self.button equals button. So we've got position. Let's put it at 100, 100. And we have width, 125, and say 40 for height. Standard, that's pretty standard. Okay, so now we can draw the button here. So we say self.button draw like that. And we should save the button. Let's see what we get when we do this. Attempt to call. Oh, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Look at that. Not a capital, but a lowercase is what we want, ladies and gentlemen. And there he is, a nice button of the size that we want. And to verify that indeed the center x and y are it's in the center, is we can set it x and y to 0, 0, and we should see half of the button in the upper right hand corner, and we indeed do, so that verifies that we are doing that correctly. Something we could do is we could say, if we wanted to set the button's left side to a certain coordinate, we could make a function called function mm. We could say left, and then we could say x. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So we could say then self.x equals x plus self.width divided by 2. So then if we wanted to show you what we have right now, which is the standard thing. So if we wanted to set the left edge to 0, this may be premature, but we can do this. We'll go back to main menu. So we say self.button left. We say set it to 0. And then that should now set us to 0 if we do that correctly. Where did I put it? I put it in the wrong place. That needs to be in button, of course. And that's called button left, not left. Button left. And now it should set that left edge to 0 whenever we do that. Except we need to do position.x. Yeah. And now we'll see that. See? So that's a way that you can basically have the coordinates be, whenever you just set them standard, be at the center, and then we can also make these little functions like this. So we can have another one that says top Y. And then we can come in here and we can say top. So set the top to something like that. So we have a lot of nice flexibility with that. So the next thing we want to have is we want to have some colors for this button, because ideally what we want is we want it to be able to have a rollover color, a normal color, a highlighted color whenever like a mouse is hovering over it and that kind of thing. So in our button new for now, we're going to say button colors. Now a color is, what a color is in Love is a table, and the table looks like this. It's red, green, blue, and alpha, and all those values from 0 to 255. So basically it's just an array. So with position 0 being red, 1 being green, 2 being blue, and 3 being alpha. So we could do that. We could just simply specify these. We could say self.normal equals, and then we could just do it, such as 128, 32, 32, 192, say, for the normal color. And then we could say highlight. Let's make that full, etc. Let's make a, and this will probably have to move at some point. We'll just make it just make it a local function for now. Let's call it color, and what it'll do is it'll take in a red, green, blue, alpha, and it will return basically that table for us. So it'll return red, green, blue, alpha. Now, how's that any better than this? Well, we can make it better than this. So say if we don't want to specify an alpha, we can say that, which says if A, so it's A or this. So if A is nil, then it's going to be 255. So we can do the same for these. So if we want to say, we just want to specify red and green, then we can just set, we could just say, well, we can specify red and green, and then blue will be red. Basically, what we want to do is we want to be able to say, if we specify one color, it's going to be some kind of gray that's fully opaque. But we could also come along here if we wanted to just do grays. We could do this. We could say gray, and then level, and then alpha. We could just spell it out this way. And we could say here, we could still do the same thing. So if you don't specify an alpha, it's going to be fully opaque. And then we could say level, level, and level. So that's going to give us a gray, or black all the way up to white, which is cool because we may want to use that. But so now instead of this, we basically just have that. And for these particular values, for those particular ones, it doesn't really make a difference. And by the way, you can substitute that. So whenever, instead of the parens like that, you can do the brackets. It works. So it just passes that table in as arguments for the function. We'll also want a rest color. So let's make that a full 255, 32, 32, 55. And I'm going to just go ahead for consistency. We'll just put the parens. And we want a self.disabled color. And we may need to go and put a suffix color for those, but for now we won't. And this will be gray. We'll make this gray, and we'll make this, let's make it 128, 128. We'll see what that looks like. So to set the colors, now we can do some different things here. So we'll talk about some of this later. You can do some interesting things with the graphic stuff. You can push and pop and stuff like that. Well, anyway, we'll look at some of that later. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to do love.graphics.setColor, and then we're going to use our normal color, normal. And what we want to do also is we want to say local previous color equals love.graphics get color. So get that previous color, and then when we get here, we want to set that previous color. And let's say that we want to make sense. Most all buttons have labels, right? So let's print something like new, and then we'll say self.position.x, self.position.y. And the text will, of course, also be upper left and upper right. And I believe there are some methods that you can use to measure the fonts. And we'll look into that next time. But for now, let's just try this stuff out. So I'm going to guess about 25 up, and we'll guess, say, 20 from the center or something like that for this new word. We'll see. Let's see if this even works. So bad argument to set color. Number expected got nil. Let's check love.graphics. Get color. Does it return? And let's see. What is it? What's it called? A pack? Is that what I need to do here? Is that? I think. Am I wrong? Let me look. I think pack may be what I'm looking for. Package table.pack. Probably not. It's not a table, is it? Is it a table? It should be a table. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's not working. Why isn't that working? Get color. It should return all of the... Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. So then I do want to do this, right? Can I do that? No. That's crummy. I don't want... Okay. ARGB. So then we can do set color, ARGB. I mean, not ARGB, RGB. A. RGB A. Like that. And no. Bad argument. Let me turn on, not run on save. Let me turn on debug mode, and let's print RGBA. Let's see what those look like. Oh, okay. I'm sure it's something crazy. Something really crazy. Let's go back to... Which one was it telling me? It was the 39, right? It's not telling me 30. Oh, it's talking about 37. Oh. Oh, okay, hold on. Hold on. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Self. We must have a self. And then we're going to go to 38, which is PC. And then, can I do that? I don't think that will work, will it? No. I know those are all there. I don't know. Let me just do this. RGBA. I'll figure that out later. And then we should get what we want. Yay! Which is great. And actually, that it looks like it's in there pretty good. And so I'll leave it at that. We'll return next, and we'll make it so that when the mouse hovers over it, it will change to the highlight color. When you click the button, it will click to pressed, and then we'll have it to where we can disable it and all that other good stuff. So until then, we'll see you next time.